In this section, we are going to learn about parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so what is parallel lines? When two lines, they are actually have the same slope, so we call these two lines they are parallel lines. So for parallel lines, the lines are not going to intercept. All right, so if we extend the line, all right, so they are not going to intercept each other, right? They will not intercept, right? We cannot find the intersection point, okay? So that's what we call the parallel lines. So this is the formula, right? We know that for parallel lines, the slope must be equal. So the slope for line 1, all right, is equals to the slope for line 2. Okay, perpendicular lines, they have the opposite reciprocal slopes. Now, what does that mean? It means that for perpendicular lines, the two lines intercept and form a 90 degree here. Okay, so they will form a 90 degree angle on the intersection point here. Right, so we call that a perpendicular line. Now, perpendicular lines, right, m1 multiply m2 is equals to -1. It means that if we take the two slopes and we multiply, we will always get -1. Okay, so these are called perpendicular lines. Now, let's take a look on the graph. Okay, now as you can see here, we have a graph here. Now, let's say we have this equation, y equals to 3x plus 1. Okay, so as we can see on the screen, we have this line, and this line always represent y is 3 multiply the value of x plus 1. Let's take a look on the other line. Let's say we have y equals to 3x minus 4. Now, as we can see here, right, the y-intercept for the red line is 1. Okay, the y-intercept is 1, so we can see, right, the y-intercept is 1. And for the blue lines, right, the y-intercept is -4. So, right, the y-intercept on the graph is -4. Now, these two lines, they have different y-intercept, but they have the same slope. Therefore, okay, if we extend a line, we can see these two lines will never meet. Okay, they will never intercept. So for this situation, we say these two lines are parallel. So please take note that for parallel lines, the two values here, they are equal, right? M red is equals to M blue, right? M red, the slope of the red line is equals to the slope of the blue line. Okay, now let's take a look on the other line. Now, if we have -1 over 3 x, okay, maybe -1. Okay, now what we can see here is that these two lines, they intercept and they form a 90 degree here. All right, so if we adjust this to a square, right, we can see here they are actually a 90 degree here. Okay. All right, we have a 90 degree if you measure. So now, what is the slope for the red line? It's 3. And what is the slope for the green line? Is -1 over 3. So if we multiply these two, so we have m1, m2, which is 3 multiply -1 over 3, and we can get -1. Okay, so in this case, right, for perpendicular lines, all right, m1 multiply m2 is always -1. So you have to remember this formula. Okay. Let's take a look on the example here. Write the equation of a line parallel to 2x minus 4y equals to 8 and containing the point -1 and 4. Okay, so now we already have one line here, which is 2x minus 4y equals to 8. All right, so you can imagine now, so we already have one line. Now, what we need to do is we need to find another line. All right, this new line is actually parallel. Okay, is parallel to the first line, right? Line 1. Okay, so this new line is parallel to the first line. And this new line contains the point, okay, -1 and 4. Okay, so we need to find the equation of this new line. All right, so the keyword given here is parallel. All right, so if we see the word parallel, it means that the first gradient is equals to the second gradient. So m1 is equals to m2. So in order to know the equation, we need to find y equals to mx plus c. All right, so this is the equation for the line. So we need m and also we need c. So how to find the m? All right, so we are going to find the m by using the first line. Okay, according to the first line, line 1, 2x minus 4y is 8. So we need to change this to the form of y equals to mx plus b so that we can find the m. All right, so by rearranging this one, we have 2x minus 8 is 4y, and the y will be 2 over 4x minus 8 over 4. And by this, all right, we know the m is, all right, 2 over 4 after simplify is 1 over 2. And since, right, the second line have the same slope with the first line, so, right, the slope of the second line is also 1 over 2 because they are parallel. Okay, so we find the slope for the second line, right, by finding the slope for the first line. Now, after we have this slope, 1 over 2, now we need to find the y-intercept here. So how to find the y-intercept? Right, we can actually use this point. Okay, for line 2, now what we know is we have y equals to 1 over 2x plus b, y-intercept. Okay, so to find the b, we need one point, and we have the point -1 and 4. This point is given. So substitute into the equation, the y is 4, the x is -1, and rearranging, we have the b is 4 plus 1 over 2, which is 9 over 2. Okay, therefore, finally, we have the y equals to 1 over 2x plus 9 over 2. This is the equation of line 2, right? The equation, right, of the line which is parallel to this line and containing -1 and 4. Now, let's take another look on the perpendicular example. Write the equation of a line perpendicular to y equals to -2x plus 3 and containing the point 3, 7. Okay, so we have the same similar questions here. Okay, but now the line is perpendicular to this equation, to this line, and contain the point 37 here. Okay, so the perpendicular is the keyword, and by this keyword we know that m1 times m2 is -1. Okay, so you can also imagine that we have the first line. This line is y equals to -2x plus 3. Now we want to find another line, right? This second line, right, assume it's a straight line, although right, it doesn't look like a straight line. The line 2, we want to find the equation. All right, so we know that generally the equation is y equals to mx plus b. We want to find the equation of this line 2, and the line 2 actually contains the point 3 and 7. Now, this diagram is just for illustration, for us to understand the situation. Okay, it doesn't mean that the diagram must be look like this. Okay, so we understand the question by imagine, right, the diagram should be something like this. So we can actually use the slope of the first line to find the slope of the second line. So we use this one, slope for the first line, to find the slope of the second line. Okay, what is the slope for the first line? M1. M1, right, we can actually get from here, the M1 is -2, right? So this is the M1, -2. So if the M1 is -2, now M1, M2 is -1 because they are perpendicular. So substitute the M1, we can actually find the M2. The M2 is 1 over 2. Okay, so then we have the slope for the second line. Right, now we shall consider line 2. For line 2, the equation will be y equals to mx plus b, right, because it is a straight line. And the m already found has 1 over 2. Now we are going to look for the b, the y-intercept. How do we look for b? We are going to use the point 3 and 7. Substitute into the equation, the y is 7, the x is 3. All right, by rearranging this one, now we have, okay, 7 minus 3 over 2, which is, right, 14 minus 3, 11 over 2. So finally, we have the equation y equals to 1 over 2x plus, all right, so 1 over 2x plus the b is 11 over 2. All right, so this is the final answer we need.